Well, as you can probably see, this thing is very bulky. I have no idea if you'll hear me very well with it on. But this is the other Israeli pepper thing I'm sending to us clothing lotus. This is the children's one. It's designed to be worn on your waist with the filter in it. And a hose attaching the filter to the mask. But I thought, why not just put the whole assembly directly onto the mask? Why not? Sucks air in here, blows it out there. Doesn't leave as much air as the adult one. So, Sean Joseph, very relevant for what I'm showing here today. But yeah, as said, this isn't the best design in the world, but it's designed for people between, the people who are a lot smaller than me to be using it. So yeah, basically how this is meant to be worn, and I'll show you the instructions. So for the Israeli viewers on, or people who can speak Hebrew, you'll be able to read some of this. So here's the big box. I'll be sending this back off to Clothing Lotus when he wants it. It's annoying to hear you're sick, but hope you get better soon. So there's some Hebrew on here. It's meant to be used with a tube, yes. I'll show you in the pictures how it's meant to be used. Obviously, I'm not opening any of the bits that don't need to be opened because I'm sending it to somebody else anyway. So what you would have done is you'd have used the standard Israeli Type 80 filter with it and the 4A1 mask, or the 4A1 children's variant of the mask. Then you have your breathing tube. Although it's quite a short one, look, because it's one for kids, not for an adult. And then I'll just take everything out the box. This is obviously the instruction manual. There is something in the background. What are you on about? Right, Marcus, I was just explaining this to everybody. So yeah, how you're meant to wear this, if they've got a picture of the whole thing being set up. Do they have a picture of the whole thing being set up? Basically, you're meant to wear it around your waist like a belt, and then the idea is anyway that goes onto the hose onto the mask. I don't know if I have. What did you say in the comment? Because I did reply to a load of comments on that for the first few hours it was up, but I've not really replied to many comments today. There's another little manual or product catalogue in here. Yeah, so that's how you would normally wear it. I assume eBay Coco Stewart is where they all turn up. But as I said, I didn't buy these. I was just sent them to review them and then send them on. Quite a lot salty if you watch my videos on them, but for the moment in this stream, we're not really talking about that. But oh, here's the thing on the atropine injector or whatever it is. Right. Yeah, it's going to be way too short, I'm afraid, Marcus. If I get the hose back again, where did I put it there? If you had a mask there, it's going to basically come to about your stomach here. And bear in mind, I'm not even that tall. I'm like 5'8". So if I had this here attached to a mask, it would only come to there. This is like half or maybe a third of the length of the adult one. I didn't buy it, Stug. You'd have to ask Marcus if he wants to tell you. But yeah. Yeah, Marcus, I would definitely use the bigger hose. I'd say this one is definitely worth reselling on. So there's the stick of batteries. As I said, I won't open those because you might as well keep them if they're brand new, not being used. And most interestingly in here, if I can spot where I put it, there we go, this. Oh, that's not bad at all, $50 US for this, actually. I think for that money, getting the mask with it as well is actually very good. I reckon you could sell most of the contents on for this, keep the PAPR system itself, still get the money back in the UK market, I reckon. Yeah, the adult one, as said, is the better system. Let's compare the size of both of them, actually. That's a good experiment. Let me just unscrew this from the mask. So,
All right. Hope your nephew's all right then. Hope everything's all right, Snorky. Completely understand that. So yeah, this one's weird because the filter connects into this weird little holder for it, which is made out of plastic. I don't really like the holder system for it. It blows air through the filter this way, like that. The adults one is a much better design, in my opinion, where you screw a filter in, and then the hose outputs from a different position. So yeah, size-wise, there's not all that much difference in them. Obviously, this is a bit bigger, but it's not much because they're bulky in different ways. But personally, I think the adult one is a lot better just because it moves more air, even though they use the same battery assembly anyway, you know. But personally, I prefer something a filter screws in one side to, and then you've got, you know, the hose on the other side, because that way I think you'd have less risk of like air slipping around the filter. Right, just to quickly answer you, Private Orange, he has an FM12, but it's got a VPU on the front and two hoses going into the side. So yeah, there's the two different versions. As said, Marcus, I've got your batteries on order for this one, but basically I've got you 4 of an equivalent battery type to these, and that should run them a bit more efficiently than the batteries they supplied them that are already a bit old and, you know, not as good. Yeah, basically, it turns a mask that's normally negative pressure, like a standard gas mask, into positive pressure. So basically, it blows the air for you. It works like a camping pump. I made my own PAPR before out of a camping air pump. But the idea is basically it's using a fan to pull air in for you through the filter. So all you're doing is just breathing while there's already air in the mask. But yeah, they seem to be quite good things. I mean, this one is fine for a kid, but obviously this model is an improved model and it's probably got a stronger fan with it. But yeah, I might end up getting my South one at some point, Marcus, because as I said, obviously I'll get these sent to you whenever you want them, but I wouldn't mind having a proper PAPR for myself, and I am quite surprised at the quality of the Israeli ones. But, you know, I've never really had much of a use for a proper PAPR system, just because I'm perfectly fine breathing for myself. Right, Bops? Yeah, we were mostly talking about... Well, it makes sense, Joseph, because this is a good thing, isn't it, as we were saying before. If you've got police and military and whatever that are issued with gas masks anyway, they might as well use them because they're a better level of protection than just simple surgical masks. And that's the thing is, I wonder really, because with Israel, everybody's meant to be supplied with a gas mask, you know, because of the idea of chemical terrorism against Israelis. You'd think Israel would actually do better in a pandemic like this because they could just say, use your 4A1s on public transport or something. No. Filters out. Are you on about this big one? This is the weird Romanian filter that went on their German M65 clones. But I like this filter because it tells you how long it lasts against certain chemical agents. I've heard both things, Marcus, that they stopped giving masks to people and that they didn't, so I really don't know what's going on. It might depend on where you are in Israel and sort of, you know, different things. I really don't know. The thing is, though, Arnold, I think they're a bit more sensible than us than that. We decided to impose a quarantine after we were already the worst country in Europe for infection rate, so, you know. £10 for an RS70, including the postage. That's a fucking steal. I think that's the one you said, wasn't it, which has to have a USB with it, not the thing, but still. The Romanian gas mask, Robert, is actually very good, which surprised me. But, well, insulted how it works. GOST filters fit onto NATO threads fine. NATO filters don't fit onto GOST threads. So yeah, it is NATO threaded. It's just that you can put GOST filters on NATO threads anyway. Could be Wolfie. It depends how good the actual armor itself is. And thanks again, Marcus. The box says it's illegal to open the box for no reason. Whoops, I can't read Hebrew. That was a mistake, wasn't it? I've already done it. But yeah, I know they at one point fined people if they lost their gas masks because people were losing them to sell them. Yeah, I know obviously during the Gulf War, that's when they thought there was going to be a lot of risk of gas attacks. But yeah, I mean, there's probably less intel on it now. But personally, I think having good civil defense is never a bad thing for a country, you know. Which thing you're on about? Sorry, Insulted. Yeah, GOST will go absolutely fine onto a NATO thread. It just doesn't work the other way around. So basically, when you get a filter, in theory, GOST is superior because it goes on NATO and GOST mask fine. Other way around, no. So you want a NATO mask with a GOST filter in an ideal world, in terms of like 100% compatibility with stuff. Well, it's not for me, Mindbuzz. As I said, Marcus bought it, he shipped it to me, and I'm going to ship it to him later on. He just wanted me to do a video on it, but I'm going to keep the mask totally intact for him. No point opening the mask, you know, it might as well stay as new second-hand condition. I've got enough filters anyway. Which machine things? You're probably looking at all the radiation detectors. That one's not wired in, but that's a British Army Land Rover neutron and gamma radiation detector for Land Rovers and armoured vehicles, and it also can read the dosimeter watches in the bottom compartment drawer, that drawer there. That's a Polish RS-70 radiation detector, and this is something I keep meaning to do a video on, and I've not got around to it yet. It is I'm going to set it to 0. Yeah, this actually keeps it 0 very well, saying that. This is a Keithley Instruments gamma ionization chamber, or beta gamma ionization chamber. But they have pros and cons compared to Geigers, basically, is a simple answer. In the UK, civilians can buy body armor, no problem. In some other countries, that's not the case, but in the UK, it's never been an issue. Right, I'm just going to re-zero that to 0. So basically, what this does... I saw you saying you left a more detailed comment earlier on, but I didn't see the comment, as said. I'll check the comments later on for that video. Now, in theory, the americinium, it shouldn't be able to read, because the alpha radiation from that, it'll read a bit of its gamma, but the alpha should be too weak to penetrate the plastic cover. Yeah, so that's just the gamma reading coming through there. So 1 millirontgen, if that. So there's that. But these, if you have an open air ion chamber, that's like 1 Rontgen plus that bit of americinium because of alpha radiation. Let's have a look at some uranium pitch blend ore. So that's a little bit of uranium pitch blend. If the camera focuses on it, probably won't. Again, this isn't very active, this piece. As I've said before, I'll do a proper video on this at some point, showing it with different, alpha, beta, gamma emitters. But the thing I can really get to set it off is this pitch blend stuff. Not pitch blend, it's like a combination of uranite and torbanite. This will definitely give a reading on it, as you can see. So that's stabilizing about 11 to 12 microsieverts. Sorry, not microsieverts, millirontgen, because this is in rontgens, not sieverts. So it uses a different calculation thing. Oh, and I haven't put these in the gun safe yet, so I can technically put these on them as well. It should give a reading in a moment. Maybe I have to find a sweet spot on it. Or I got it round the wrong way. Ah, that's it. It's the wrong side of the dial. There you go. Not all that interesting. The point is, though, that I'll do a proper video on this to explain it. But lots of people basically go, oh, it's either Geiger counters and that's it. You know, ion chambers are a lot more useful in my opinion than Geiger counters. But the issue is with ion chambers, it's only with recent modern digital ones that they're actually sensitive enough that you can detect background radiation with them. Was that in Serbia or somewhere in Yugoslavia, Gordon? That's interesting. It's just a zeroing thing post-Tyrone. Basically, in the radiation field, it would never go negative. When you zero it to 0 at background radiation, it can go up and down a little bit because of how it amplifies signals. Sadly, I've never seen them here cheap, Private Orange, but French M50s here are cheap, but I would like to get an M53. Yeah. As Origami Lego Dragon says, uranium fever has gone and got me down. Uranium fever, it's spreading all around. And I won't kill your eardrums anymore, but there you go. I'm pretty sure it's a real one, Steve, but I'm not going to open it and find out because, as I said, it's not a package for me. Well, as I said, Shed on Fire, there's been no readings in my area. So at the moment, I can't show you anything. I only had a reading from that Chernobyl fire earlier in the year. So far, with that current radiation leak, nothing has turned up in my area. Because apparently all the detection stations that have spotted it have the really, really sensitive equipment. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an atropine injector, Steve, which is, you know, the anti-nerve gas stuff. But it's stuff you never want to use because if you're using atropine, it's dangerous enough in itself. Most modern masks would be resilient to sarin, I think, pretty well. Not that, you know, you need full-body NBC gear that's also resilient to nerve agents, but... Hey, don't spam the chat. We know you want a mask that's resilient to sarin gas. Most ones are, because sarin at least isn't very penetrating when it comes to rubber. Yes, Marcus, thanks. Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, with my ulcerative colitis, last night... although I didn't drink as much last night, you know, and I thought I'm doing a lot of things healthier, my UC really played up last night. So I was awake till like 4 in the morning, having to run to the toilet, you know, having stomach pain non-stop. Then eventually I got to sleep, but then I really overslept because, you know, I didn't want to have like 4 hours of sleep and then get up. So I, you know, stayed in till like 3 p.m. But, all right, your mother? All right, the person who's spamming the chat, sorry I'm getting rid of you. You did have enough warnings not to spam the chat. I assume you're actually able to read all the information on here, aren't you, your mother? I have no clue what it says, although somebody says you're not meant to open it. It's what part of what they say on here. But assume you and some of my other viewers can actually read this stuff. Oh yeah, I can read that bit. Do not open. Do not open. Opening this kit may reduce its effectiveness. Storage instructions. Keep in a cool, dry place away from sunlight. Keep away from children, even though it's a children's mask. Open this kit only under clear instructions from the rear command. But yeah. As I've said post-Tyrone, I've been cutting down on it, but yesterday I didn't have anywhere near as much alcohol. My UC was a lot worse. It was probably because, you know, I suddenly cut down a lot more of it. They remind me of the old US CDV boxes, actually, which I've got a few of, which a few of my old CDV radiation detectors, you know, came in. But I suppose Israeli civil defense and American civil defense isn't really all that different, is it? Other than it's a different language printed on it, it's basically the same stuff. Equipment to protect the wearer from, you know, whatever. Right, McGav hazmat suit. Let me search that, Joseph. McGav hazmat suit. That looks all right. Some of those look a bit goofier than others because there's a few different models coming up. But yeah, I mean, hazmat suits to me look all pretty similar. But from looking through a few of those sort of Israeli manuals, I know that, you know, there are a few different models. But right, Ron, I'll get it back out for you. The answer is it's the Israeli children's gas mask blower, but I had it attached to a Chinese gas mask. So basically how it works, sucks air in through there where you'd have your filter. Sorry, sucks air in through there where you'd have your filter. You have your filter there, The filter goes into a mask or a hose there, and then it, filters the air for you. That sounds good, Joseph. The thing is, as I've said before, I have no real use for hazmat suits, in all honesty. When I had a hazmat suit, I ended up sending it back, in the sense of, as much as I appreciate having like a £500 hazmat suit for free, Piotr, you can have it back because it's so bulky, I don't want it. Nah, it's a bit expensive, Puffin Guy. At the moment, FM12s are more than they should be, but I still wouldn't pay that for one. That's cool, Gordon. Keep it safe, or Gordana, sorry. Keep it safe and put it in a museum, maybe, if that's appropriate. But yeah, it's designed for children, basically, shed on fire, or adults that can't breathe as well, so it's easier for them to breathe. That's what most PAPR systems outside of military things are for, is just to make people more comfortable wearing gas masks or have looser fitting masks. Well, if you put the right filter threading on it and attached it to a GP7, as you can see, there's a GP7 up there, it would make a proper seal, because PAPRs are good for that. Even if you've got a mask that doesn't fit you very well, they keep the mask, positive pressure and good. But I don't have any World War One masks other than a replica of a World War One mask, and I don't know where it is at the moment. I think it's in a completely different room, so I can't show it, Although you can look at my channel and look up the old videos of it. Yeah, loads of stuff's late at the moment. Right, let me search that, because I don't actually know what the initials sound for. I assume it would be something to do with Canada and the UK, or is it something completely unrelated to that, Joseph? Let's search it. So Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. Well, that sounds good. Like I said, I don't have any problem with trade blocks as long as they're done in a sensible way. That's interesting. So Croatian War of Independence, was that like the 1990s war where Croatia broke away from Yugoslavia? Because while I do know about the Yugoslav wars, they are quite confusing for people that obviously aren't Serbian, Croatian, Bosnian and all that, to kind of know which ones are which, because we kind of think of them just as a load of nations breaking away from Yugoslavia. Yeah, well, as I've said before, there's been a load of confusion with this particular thing, because I was waiting for this for months. The tracking info didn't update in months. So I contacted eBay and said, the tracking info's not updated. What's going on? They said, we'll refund you. Then a week later, it turned up. So then I recontacted them and said, look, do you want to charge me again for the money you refunded me, because it's turned up? And then they didn't get back to me. So, who knows what's going on with this, but I wouldn't mind if I got it for free, but, I'm perfectly happy to pay for it because it's turned up. But it was just one of those things where it got stuck in transit for ages. Right, can I try and pronounce your name? I'm going to butcher it, but here we go. De Model Buijongers, Netherlands. I really can't speak Dutch. I've never heard that theory before, Bots. That's interesting. I've never heard that theory before. But the weird thing I know is when my dad used to teach immigrants to the UK sort of mathematics skills, the Serbs, the Croatians, and the Bosnians all loved Tito. There's lots of stuff they'd argue about other than that, but Tito they all loved. And I suppose that was because he was a good, strong ruler who stopped them from killing each other, when he was in charge. For all the faults Yugoslavia had, at least there wasn't any ethnic genocides going on under, like the actual commie Yugoslav party. That's very sad, goddammit. In my school, we had a Serbian refugee, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give his name, but some of his family were murdered as well, which is one of the things that makes you realise, it wasn't such a one-sided war. A lot of innocent people were killed on all sides, But, that's the horrible thing with wars like that. I think a lot of people think one side is good, one side is bad, and then when in reality, a lot of innocent people are killed on all sides, which is one of the horrible things, I think, with war in general, that a lot of people never get, that it's not good side, bad side. It's debatable which side is the best in a lot of wars, and then lots of innocent people die. Well, you know. I'm not going to lie, I do really like some of the Yugoslav music from Croatia and Serbia during the breakup period, you know, where they had all the accordion and sort of prog rocky sounding stuff. Right, Kogo Stewart, 40mm NATO is technically 40mm 1/7, isn't it? Which means 1/7 of an inch twist or whatever. Yeah, I've got a load of old sort of Yugoslav uniforms as well, but I don't wear them very much now because people, if I put them on for a video, will accuse me of, you know, being a sympathizer for one of the sides or whatever, and I've just got really sick of it, so. I know about No Russian from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, if that's what you're on about. Cheers, Joseph. That's the thing. When war happens, I think it's normally regular, innocent people that suffer for it, you know, not the people at the top who decide they're going to have the wars, you know. If you put a Ghost hose on it, it would fit that PAPR unit, yes. Or if I put the Chinese filter that's on it directly onto the PMG, and then that unit onto the PMG, then yes, it would fit. I've got a little bit. Most of it is kind of when it was Yugoslavia, Gordana. So, like, you know, older Yugoslav stuff or 1990s stuff that people would say was either Serbian or Yugoslavian. Yeah, PAPRs would make filters last less time, but as other people said, which is actually a very good point, if you had a particle filter of a PAPR, it would technically last longer because it's doing the breathing for you. So it wouldn't matter when it clogs up as much because it's breathing for you. You know, it'd only be if the motor burns out, I guess, that it doesn't work anymore. Yes, I'm a big fan of Stanley Kubrick. So anyway, what I'm on tonight is this Navy rum, which is another one of my old granddad's bottles. The rum the other day, not the rum, the brandy the other day, you know, where I said I was going to drink the bottle to about there. I actually did, but then what I did was later on today, you know, like 6, 7 p.m. today, I went through the last half of the bottle. But PAPR should be fine against tear gas, but again, it depends on the filter you've got on it. I've never got any Remploy suits, weirdly. If you mean like the British Armed Police Remploy suits, I've never bought any. I've never seen any for a good price. Favourite Kubrick film? Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Eyes Wide Shut is also very good, but, you know, it's a shame with Eyes Wide Shut that so many people make it into a massive conspiracy film rather than what the film's actually about. The 3M PAPR might be a bit better, Thomas, in all honesty. It depends, because I've used PAPRs that are good and bad. I'm just not a massive fan of them in general. But for a supermarket own rum, but bear in mind this looks like an ancient bottle, this is pretty good. Does it have an actual year of manufacture on this? Because I'd be very interested to know how old this rum actually is. Not obviously, no. Right, good luck with that, bots. At the moment, I'm kind of finding out, have I still got a job? And I think I found out at the moment I've got a job for another month, but then I might not have it after that. But yeah, I think a lot of us are in that position at the moment, aren't we? Oh, that's cool. I can't remember your original comment, Joseph, but that is interesting. Which particular brand of Cuban rum, Ron? Because there's several brands of Cuban rum, aren't there? Too expensive for me, I'm afraid. I wouldn't want to spend like 200 to 300 quid on the crossbow, especially not a pistol crossbow. You can stop spamming the question. The worst gas mask I've seen that sort of works is that pewter one, the Chinese one. Just because the straps ping off and it's made from too soft a rubber. In theory, it can work, but I wouldn't want to rely on it. That's cool, Coco. I'm not going to be buying anything like that for a while, as I said, because I do need to be really careful with my job situation, you know. Because Hype keeps finding really well-priced night vision units for me and going, like, oh, you should buy this. And I'm like, yeah, but at the moment, I don't want to, like, waste £300, you know, when in a month's time I might not have a job to go back to because, you know, how much the economy is going to collapse due to Corona. No, I've not tried the PMK4. I've got a PMK1, a GP7, and a PMK3, but not a PMK4. But yeah, at the moment, I've not got many plans to buy new things unless they end up being really, really well priced. I think $80 or pounds for a C420 is pretty good, but I don't normally buy them. But that doesn't seem bad for a PAPR unit if it's in good condition. Yugoslavian M1 masks can melt. Thankfully, mine hasn't, but it's from a series of masks that are known to melt. So it's just luck that mine hasn't melted. All right, Ross? Right, Joseph. Growing a Hitler moustache of somebody that's Jewish. I don't know. Was Charlie Chaplin Jewish? Because didn't Charlie Chaplin have that moustache before Hitler? I can't remember. But the thing is, I find it's one of those moustaches today that's kind of been ruined forever by Hitler, even if you were Jewish, you know, and all stuff like that. All right, Marcus. I appreciate it, but yeah, thank you. But the thing is, I think it could be a bit funny, you know, like stuff like that. But you know, I suppose it's up to you at the end of the day, isn't it? But it's a pencil moustache is the actual name of the moustache, the one that's like that. But yeah, I kind of prefer the bigger sort of moustaches, you know, to the smaller ones, like the old sort of Wild West moustaches, or you know, like big paintbrush moustaches. Favorite one that's on the wall behind me. The one that's not a gas mask that's my favorite is the Soviet PTM1 in blue, the Fallout mask. The others, maybe the GP5, just because it's such a mass-produced, well-known mask. Did he soak it in a chemical, do you think, your mother? Because I suppose a moustache, if soaked in a chemical, and then if it was up your nose well enough, might actually work like a basic filter. I really don't think we can, Mike. The problem is, I thought with the shutdown, what would have been a sensible thing to do would have been shut down initially, but very quickly start reopening things with good rules in place for how to mitigate damage. What we did instead was just shut down for ages, and now don't really know what we're doing. Obviously, I'm not a politician, so I can't really tell you that. But the countries that seem to have done the best were the ones that took action early and then decided what they were going to do. Weirdly, Markio, the red dot I've got on my £120 crossbow that works fine is a Daisy red dot for a Daisy Red Rider. I normally stream every day, Crazy Professor. Not necessarily every day, but I do stream most days. And generally, it's just talking about surplus of people. Oh, there's definitely a second wave coming. We've already had second waves in some of the UK cities. Yeah, let me just search this. UK Corona second wave. Which is it? Leicester, the city at the moment that's got like loads and loads of cases spiking. I think Texas has in America as well. Let me just go on to the BBC News, go to coronavirus, and see if they've got it somewhere obvious on there. Yeah, Leicester could be locked down over corona. Here you go. Yeah, that's the thing, Mike. I don't think trying to bring that moustache back would work, would it? Well, how bad it is depends if it's a second peak or a second wave, doesn't it? We'd hope it's a peak or a little, you know, blip. But sadly, I think it might be a wave based on how a lot of countries are treating it. I still have them up on my channel, Marcus. I've just not done them in a while because one of my neighbours doesn't particularly like me filming them, which is the simple answer to it. So I wouldn't mind doing them if I had a day where nobody's going to be about in the garden. and it was a nice day of weather. But you know, the main reason is because I don't want somebody shouting at me that I'm shooting a crossbow in a garden, you know, and it's not safe or whatever else, you know. So the book's called The Other Side of the Door. Let me Google it. And I'll type book because it's coming out with a horror film at the moment. Is this the thing about behind the lines and secrets we keep? Is that the one, or am I looking up the wrong thing? Sadly not, Marcus, especially not with Corona. The really sad thing is there used to be a firing range near me at Otmore that sometimes the army use, sometimes the armed police use it, and historical gun clubs used to use it. And basically, when historical gun clubs used to use it, although I found this out way too late, obviously, you could go down there for a day by the sound of it, pay a bit of money and shoot, you know, muskets and Lee Enfields and stuff like that. What it's about now, unfortunately, is it seems a lot of those gun clubs have become defunct, and you know you just can't go and shoot there. No, so it's about policing, is it? Well, I've never even heard of this book. At the moment, eBay've not got back to me, Tev. I've sent them a message saying that, you know, you refunded me, then the item turned up. I'm waiting, you know, I don't mind repaying you, but they've not responded. So, I mean, hopefully I might get it for free, but, you know, personally, like from a moral perspective, I've got the item, so I would like to pay for it. But the seller said they didn't get refunded either, you know, like, or they didn't have to pay a refund. It seems like PayPal or somebody's covered it, but I really don't know, you know, like if they say to me, can you repay it? And I would say, yes, certainly, because I've got the item. Probably not, Marcus. There are certain university shooting clubs, so you could certainly go to university shooting clubs and do things like 22 long rifles, you know, like bolt action ones or maybe Ruger 1022s. But yeah, the problem is with the UK is I think that's why a lot of people don't get into shooting, just because there's nowhere near enough gun clubs. You know, so most people don't want to jump through all the licensing with no help from a club to then have a gun that they can't shoot on their property because their property is too small. But, you know, if there was a gun club near me, I probably would just join it, you know, because it would be quite an easy thing to do and it makes getting a gun license very easy. But sadly, in my area, the historical clubs just don't exist anymore. Which generation of Soviet winter uniforms? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut this thread off because this is annoying me. But right, Post Tyrant said, did you try the Kajou Geiger counter when your background radiation was higher and did it also show it? Which one's the Kajou one? Off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember. Is that the one that plugs into a mobile phone? Or is that a different one? Let me Google it. Or is that the one Hype sent me? Oh, that's the one Hype sent me. I didn't try that particular one, but every counter I did try went to about 0.6 microsieverts. That's right, Dusker. Pressure checking's a pretty basic thing, but I think it's one of those things a lot of people don't know how it works very well. There's a couple of clay shooting things near me, Marcus, in Oxford, but none of them I've never really wanted to go into because I'm way more into the idea of rifle shooting than shotgun shooting. The thing is, even if you're Jewish, Hiku, there'll still be people that will call you a Nazi based on it, or like a traitor to your religion, or whatever else. It's up to you to decide. I can't tell you whether to do something like that or not, you know. But yeah. So yeah, clay pigeon shooting. There is some near me, but I've never been that interested in doing it. You know, especially when you could do that, or you could do historical rifle shooting. Historical rifle shooting to me was way more interesting, but you know. So yeah, they basically come out of a like launcher thing. You get told to pull, and then you aim and shoot your shotgun. I bought from Soviet Power decades ago. One of my PMGs I got from Soviet Power, but they're a lot more expensive than eBay for the most part. I don't know, maybe they've fallen asleep. Or maybe they don't have anything to say, because you only see their spanner when they talk. But you might like clay shooting, Marcus. It's good for like reaction, speed of quickly bringing the gun up and shooting. But... Right, David is talking in slightly broken English. He said, I just bought my Foot's gas mask. Excellent lesson. Beef 5 things and a filter on eBay. Right. Is that, I just bought my first gas mask. Excellent lessons because of things? I don't know. Yeah, that's the problem, Marcus, in the UK. Because shotguns are easier to legally own, and you don't need as much land to shoot them on, I'm pretty sure, compared to rifles. It's the reason why Section 2s are more common than Section 1s. And lots of farmers think a shotgun is fine, shooting foxes or whatever on their land. Yeah, spanner's what we call them in the UK. Mike, I suppose spanner and wrench are pretty similar things, because we have torque wrench, isn't that, in the UK? But normally we just say a spanner. Not very many, unfortunately, shed on fire. And again, a lot of these end up being the sort of more stupid groups that then alienate people. From what I understand, the UK National Rifle Association pretty much lets anybody walk over gun rights anyway. No, generally, Marcus, you don't need a license for the clubs. That's the point of them. People join the clubs to get into shooting if they don't have a license. That's how a lot of people approach it. But as I said, the problem is in my area, there aren't any really clubs I've wanted to join since I've been old enough and, had the budget to sort of get into shooting. So I've never bothered. That's the reason I've got a gun safe and there's no guns in it, because I got the gun safe at the point I was really keen on getting into shooting. And then it never happened. So now it stores radioactive substances and air rifles. I've got too many gas masks is my answer to the question to people asking how many have I got. I'd like to get rid of some of them. Oh, like an air rifle, your mother? Are air rifles legal in Israel? If they are, you can probably get an air rifle, no problem. Something like a Crossman or a Gammo, air rifle should be fine for that, either in 177 or 22, shooting pigeons. What's the believer about then, book report? Yeah, €50 if it's an S10 in good condition is a good price. That's weird, because like UK, you can own air rifles, but you can't own certain other things, and it's weird, isn't it, where the laws are different in different countries. Yeah, that's what most people in the UK do, is they buy air guns, as in like up to 12 foot-pounds air rifles, and then people use those for shooting crows or pigeons in their garden. Because 12 foot-pounds is enough energy for a non-firearm, thing for killing kind of vermin. So people use them to shoot rats or pigeons, with hollow points or good rounds. Right, cool, Dusker. Enjoy the MP4 review. It's Markio. It's just the Daisy Red Dot. Let me see if I can find you one. It's the one for the Daisy Red Riders. It's literally this thing. This says it's unavailable at the moment. It's literally that thing. It was the cheapest red dot I've ever bought, and it works fine on an air rifle or a crossbow. It's another thing, because it's built for air gun recoil, not standard gun recoil. Yeah, it's a really weird Sparrow, isn't it, that? So air guns are more restricted in Scotland and other parts of the UK, and they basically fall under the same sort of licenses of a shotgun, don't they? Okay, I have to watch that, Tev. I did like the neo-Nazi filming with Daniel Craig. It's Daniel Craig, not Daniel Craig. The guy who played Harry Potter. Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah, you know about the like where he's like an FBI infiltrator or whatever it is. That was quite a good film. But you know, I suppose the films have to be balanced, don't they? Because if you have like everybody that believes in far right stuff being comically evil, then it's not very realistic. If you also have it, you know, too sympathetic for people that are like really far right, that's not very realistic either. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it, Coco? Yeah, for those of you that don't know my religious beliefs, it's basically I'm very mildly Christian. People can be whatever belief they want as long as they don't harm me, you know. And I would certainly stand up for people if they're getting persecuted, especially on here, you know, by people because, you know, random bullshit that we do see on here, unfortunately. Especially because, you know, it seems to be quite trendy to hate people of certain religious groups, even though as far as, you know, as I said before, it's down to the individual, not a religion or skin color or whatever else. Doesn't the Israeli military, Edward, use the what's the name of it? It's a bullpup rifle, isn't it? That replaced the Galil, Tavar or something like that. I'm pretty sure it's in the gun book I've got. Pretty sure it's in this book. Let's have a look. I've gone too far if I'm at Russia. Israel. TAR 21. I'm pretty sure, unless the page is flipped over. Hang on. There we go. Right. I'm pretty sure that's the modern Israeli rifle. Yeah, Tavor assault rifle. But yeah, they've used Galils before in the past and Fowls and everything else. So not obviously no Israeli guns because of Fowls, because you know the Fowl's my favourite rifle, but it's a bit antiquated now. Galils are really interesting as well if you basically want to see a better engineered AK. Yeah, this is the thing, Justin Vapor, isn't it? That nicotine is one of those things where nicotine itself isn't really the problem. It's all the other chemicals that come with smoke. No, I mean, it's like pretty much the original religion, isn't it, Joseph? Because, I mean, this was causing a bit of an argument in the UK recently. I don't know if you've been hearing any of this, but it's quite funny. But, you know, all the Black Lives Matter stuff that was going on, people were saying, shouldn't Jesus be basically shown as a Mediterranean sort of Arabic-looking Jewish guy? And that really offended some people. I don't know why, because that's basically where he was from in the world, you know. Because, I mean, we tend to make Jesus look white or black, depending on what country you have, like, Christian sort of, you know, figures of Jesus in. But basically, ethnically, Jesus would have been a Jewish bloke, because that's the region he was from. But, you know, I don't want to turn this stream into a politics one right at the end now, but I just thought that was quite a funny thing. It's like, why is that even offensive to some people, you know? Problem is, if you put a NATO filter on a GP5, it won't make an airtight seal. World War II medals. No, the only World War II medal I've got is a German World War II Iron Cross that my granddad found abandoned with a load of German SS uniforms, so they took them as souvenirs. But that's the only one I have, and obviously I've been told never to wear it or anything like that. Because, you know, obviously the context of what a fucking medal of a swastika on basically meant. But my granddad's got quite a lot of medals, but obviously he just keeps them in a box in his house. But, you know, the thing is, though, there were honourable German soldiers in World War II, that didn't ever do any evil shit, might have fought the Soviets or whatever else, might have died. But, the regime they fought for, I think, is completely detestable. But, that's my simple way of explaining it. But, I don't think all German people are evil. And I was certainly brought up not to believe in that by my granddad who fought in the Second World War. Because, in general, lots of wars, as we were saying earlier, are basically poor people being conscripted to fight other poor people who have no, interest in the ideology of their leaders. That's all right, Mike. I will watch a film then tonight. But yeah, I was ill last night. But I'm sort of felt all right today. But I think Jesus was a carpenter. In all honesty, isn't that historically what it's meant to be? All right, Tev, I'm glad you find them useful. They're nice to talk to people, especially when they don't turn into shitfest, where, people are saying, oh, you can't have this group of people on your streams. If it's handy here, I can't remember if I had it on this shelf or not, or if it was a different shelf it was on. It might have been somewhere else I had it. Yeah, it's not here, otherwise I'd show it you now. I just wouldn't show you the side with the swastika on, but no, it's not there. But yeah, apparently the story was they went into some barns, in France after D-Day, and they were clearing them out, and they found a load of SS uniforms discarded with all the medals where the soldiers had put civilian clothes on and fled, so they took the medals as souvenirs. But, like I said, that was the thing I was pretty much brought up to believe, because what was quite emotional, I think I've said about some of you before, but it is a very emotional thing. We went to, when I was very young, this is the thing, I was too young to understand at the time, we went to, the beaches of D-Day where my grandfather had served and that, and a lot of his friends had died. And this German woman came up to him, and she started crying and saying, oh, I'm sorry for everything the German people had done. And he said, you've got nothing to apologize for because you weren't alive at the time. You should never be made to apologize for that. I think that's a very powerful thing, that you shouldn't let, stuff like that go on over generations where the people involved had no stuff over it, I think he thinks the people who did stuff like the Holocaust were really, really evil, but, modern Germans had nothing to do with it. As long as we learn the lessons from history and don't repeat it, that should be the thing. But, I think that's the same with any army, in any bit of history, But I don't know. That probably didn't come across as well as it should have come across because I've been drinking. But what's an Enland knife? Is that one of the Chinese ones, the Enland knife? I'm not sure now. Oh, that's the thing, Mike. That's the thing. I think you should learn from history, but I really don't understand the logic of some people where you should feel shame in history, but not feel pride from it, or you should feel pride but not shame. Surely you can't have one without the other. So to me, I think you should more just look at history to say, this is the things people did in the past, good and bad. Let's not repeat the bad things from history. Trying to think, the knives I got from Blades and Bows. This was one of the ones I got from Blades and Bows, the Ganzo one. There was another one, wasn't there, as well? Was that the brown flip knife? Oh, to be honest, a lot of communists were probably honourable if they were the ones that thought they were fighting for their fellow man, and rights of all men. It's just the people, in charge again that had the horrible ideologies. That's not going to be a real Alibaba. Not a real Alibaba. Yeah, I think I know, like the wooden handle one, I think I know the one you mean. That was a pretty good knife, actually. It's not as good as the Ganzo's, but it was pretty good for what it was. So yeah, if it's a Chinese ripoff of an MSA Millennium from Alibaba, I'd be very interested in what that is, but I don't actually know what model it is. That's the thing, Joseph. Like, as I was saying, the people people who are ideologically, in charge of it, like the Nazis, I think were bad people. But, I think the regular Russians weren't. They were fighting. They were poor. They were fighting. It's like all these wars. They get a bullet in their back if they didn't fight. So they just did. It might be a zeroing issue. Have you had it on before? Because generally with ion chambers, they take a while to settle. So let's just get my MD3. I just want to do it so nothing flies off the shelf. Let's just pop that down there in a minute. Alright, so we'll put it on with the lamp. Then it should take a minute to go to 0. But bear in mind, ion chambers are pretty directional dependent, because air moves about inside them. So what reading you said? You've just got it. I think that's more of a zeroing thing then. You'll have to leave them on for a while as well. I did a video about initial setup of these because the problem is if there's moisture inside, it causes an overreading. But basically, if you replace the silica gel in it, re-zero it, it should end up looking like that, basically below the first notch. It doesn't mean the radiation is literally as high as 0.1 centigrade. It's just with an analog display, you can't really get them to read 0000. Well, I've not Mike, but that does sound interesting. Right, I need to still watch your one, I think, on the PMG bots. Was it the PMG or was it the one, the Chinese mask? No, it was a Chinese one, wasn't it? Your latest one. I've not got around to watching that yet, so I have to watch that at some point. But yeah, the issue is with all ionization chambers. They're a lot more susceptible to the needle moving around if you move them with your hand than Geiger counters are. But ion chambers, as I said, are very good for giving you accurate radiation measurements, unlike Geiger counters, because they actually measure pure ionization of the air, not count equivalent to dose, which is the issue of Geiger counters. Yeah, I'll watch that at some point, bots. I might wait for you to upload a new video and I might watch them back to back. But tonight I have to watch a film I have to find a film to watch, I reckon, that I'll enjoy. I need to put some stuff up in the attic though in a minute. So I have to make sure I don't get through too much of this before then, because I don't want to fall down the ladder. But alright, shalom to you, Joseph. Goodwill to all men of all colours and religions, really, is my opinion. Yeah, I've put a green LED on mine. So it is quite bright green. I know you probably can't see that very well on here without the lights being off, but let me flick the other light off just so you can easily see. There you go, green LED I've put inside this one with a custom battery to support the green LED. Yeah, these are cool devices. But, right, I'll say goodbye to everybody. Thanks for coming on. It's been a good stream. Thank you for everybody that's donated, including Marcus. As I said to you before, Marcus, as soon as you want that, the 2 things sent to you, just let me know and give me an address and I'll sort them out for you of tracking and everything. But, yeah. So I'll probably stream tomorrow, but I don't know yet, because one of the days this week I want to go out for a walk with one of my mates when he gets back into Oxford sort of area. But right, quickly ask the question then before I go off. I've not seen. What's the question, Moonlight Militia? I didn't see a question. I just said I was going off and then I saw you going, Ree! Thank you very much, Thomas. I'll do that next time I need some more spirits. Or beer or whatever. Kit. What sort of kit? I do like Polish gas masks, actually. All right, so you need a Shums kit, as in the Soviet helmet mask, specialist helmet mask kit. What country are you in, Moonlight's Militia? You can generally get them on eBay, but I don't know if you can get the full kits on eBay easily. But basically, you're in Finland. Does Varistrelka have them? That's probably your best bet. Let's have a quick look for you before I go off. Varistrelka, however it's pronounced. Give me 1 second, I'm looking now. I swear they had these on Valustelka, or whatever it's called at one point. They might have had them under the wrong name. I think at one point people were calling them Polish MP3 masks for some reason. But do they have them at the moment? Well, they've got Furnez's for £55 on Varustrelka, so that's a better mask, in all honesty. But no, I can't see that one on there. But I think they sometimes weirdly get called the Polish MP3 mask incorrectly. Let me just see if any come up on Google for sale as Polish MP3s. Oh, that's the MUA coming up for sale there. I have seen the Shums for sale before being called the MP3, when it's clearly not the MP3. But unfortunately, at the moment, I can't spot any. Valustrelka, whatever it's called. Let me post a link to it. It's a big Finnish surplus site that isn't all that useful in the UK because they end up costing more normally to ship to the UK. But sometimes they have cool stuff on there. So that's it, Marcus. If you have a look at that, Varustrelka or Varustelka, however it's pronounced, I really don't know. Yeah, sometimes it might help Moonlight Militia if you search SCHMS, because although that's not its real name, some sellers often call it that. I don't know if this includes the entire kit. Let me have a quick look. Rolling out stock for the Shums. Yeah, I think unfortunately this one's sold out of Shums. So yeah, I'm afraid I can't really help you there. That's pretty cool, Edward. The Message I've got downloaded, but I've not watched it yet. Lion of the Desert, no, I've not. I don't think I've found a torrent of it or whatever. But yeah, so apologies. Maybe you'll get lucky on another stream when we're on, and they'll end up being some in stock, and I can just link you to somebody that has them for sale. But the problem is the masks at the moment, I'm sure as you're aware, Corona happened, and lots of masks that would normally be easy to find surplus aren't easy to find surplus anymore. But happy birthday to you anyway, Moonlight's Militia. And as Tev said, the kit is called the RSH4, so maybe look for that. There's also the PRVU versions of it, aren't there? But it depends which kit they were issued with which accessories, but yeah. But yeah, good evening, everybody. See you all. Thank you to everybody that's donated. I'm going to go into the attic before I fall off the ladder and put some stuff up in the attic my dad wanted putting up there. And I'm going to see if I can find the, plasma ball up in the attic somewhere, because that should fuck up the Geiger counters. All right, cool, Abdo. If I remember, I'll search for that. But again, it's going to have to be when I remember to look it up if I've got the free time, because it was like a 3-hour film, wasn't it, The Message? But anyway, yeah, cool. See you all. Have a good evening. Goodwill to all men and all the usual stuff.